We now turn on to our announcements. And Austin, what do we have in announcements?
So the announcement from our side is that the contact us at blindandroidusers.com email address is not functioning. All those who have attended the giveaway for the Pixel Buds will have to be patient so that when the address problem is resolved, we will find the winner and we'll ship the buds to you. Regarding off-topic news, we have a lot of news. Lastpass was hacked, so if anyone is using Lastpass, should change your password. Along with Samsung was hacked, and AMD has come out with a new AMD 7 chipset, AMD 7000 chipset. So that is all in the news. And our rival Apple is coming out with some iPhone models and some Macs on 7th. People are saying that the price will be the same. So we need to stay tuned for that and see what they do. That's all for the announcements.
Talking about the hackery going on, the Samsung thing is only the US servers. So if you're in the US, keep an eye out there for an email from Samsung notifying you about the hack that took place. And so it's just one of those things. It seems like everybody's getting hacked these days. It's just unbelievable. The bad guys are absolutely clever, and most of the time, it seems like a lot of it has to do with phishing. You know, you'd think that by now people would be up to what is going on, but we still get deceived. Even people in the IT department get deceived by all those phishing emails that make it look so legit and thinking, hey, this is probably from my boss, but come on, guys. But anyway.
We should also note that it did affect the Canadian servers as well. I did get an email yesterday from Samsung indicating that there may have been a breach within the Canadian server. So basically, we should all just be changing our passwords if we have anything to do with Samsung tech.
And the interesting thing, though, is that they always tell us, it's kind of minor. I happen to not be a believer that it's minor. Sometimes I kind of believe that they're kind of minimizing, the damage. It's just unbelievable. We'll never really know what happens when these things happen.
Well, coming from experience, it very easily could be pretty minor because I know myself working within a fairly substantial amount of data right now. If I was to have a data breach with work, what generally could be accessed really is non-identifying. So any sensitive data will be kept on one server, hidden behind many, many firewalls. And generally what is accessed right off the start will be really simple stuff like, in say Samsung's case, what device you may have or how many devices you've purchased. It may not give any identifying information, but it's always one of those things where it's best to always make sure we keep, when we see a data breach, to go and change our passwords. That way we are minimizing the impact on ourselves, because on the organization, any data breach other than identifying information really is minor, where on our personal end, what data could be breached, we may see that as being a little bit more severe.
With passwords, though, surely they're not stored in a normal text readable form.
No, they are.
I think it's far more serious, people getting things like your postal address, because you can't change that.
Well, the likelihood of them getting access to our mailing information and utilizing it, that's pretty minimal. Passwords generally they're not necessarily stored. So like Samsung could never tell me what my password is.
That's what I thought. So that's why I don't really understand why they say change your password, because I think we're not going to know what it is anyway.
When you have access to people's accounts, stuff like that, or when you maliciously gain access, generally you'll have software where you can actually decrypt the passwords.
Ooh.
So, like for example, I could go on to Microsoft right now and decrypt all of my colleagues' passwords from Microsoft, because that software does exist for people who have either admin privileges or who have accessed that kind of software for malicious reasons. So even though the organizations or companies may not be able to see the password data themselves, there is always a way to obtain access to what those passwords are.
But did you guys remember, I think it was some years ago, that big Facebook hack? And actually, it came out in the news that the passwords were actually stored in plain text.
Yeah.
Anyone remembers that?
Yeah,
So
Facebook was
really,
guilty of
I
them.
think that the best thing it doesn't matter what happens, people should always change those passwords, anytime such thing happens, even if it's minor, nothing revealing is there. I would go for changing my password just to be safe, to
Just
be
be
sure.
safe.
And, also enable those 2FAs. I think these things are very important. I know some people think that they are not, but for me, I just couldn't do without 2FA, a two-factor authentication, that is.
Are we talking about, presumably we're not just talking about your Samsung password for your Samsung account, we're talking about all the passwords, because if you're using something like Samsung Pass, they know your other passwords too, don't they?
So that data is not something Samsung has actual access to. Anything that's stored within like Samsung Pass or Google autofill, stuff like that, that's always stored actually on your device in a secure folder. So,
okay, so it's only really your actual Samsung account
Exactly.
if it's Samsung that's been hacked, or your Facebook
Exactly.
password if Facebook's been hacked, for example.
Exactly.
Okay.
Where, for example, like for Google autofill, that may be stored on a server, but not even Google has access to that data.
Mm.
So where Samsung Pass, it stores directly on your device.
That's good to know. Thank you.